I focus on is thinking about creativity as a wellness practice. And so I think about creativity and intuition to be very similar. And it can be those like really subtle moments where you feel like your inner voice is talking to you. That's just like, oh, maybe I should go left and go right, or maybe I should make spaghetti for dinner instead of whatever this rice dish. And also think about it in another sense, in a more physical sense, right, of thinking about birth, right, like creating like life with your body, and also creativity as art making, right, and thinking about, and that's the creativity that a lot of people can identify with. Like I made a picture for Mother's Day, or I have this Picasso in my house that is art, and I think all of those things are expressions of the creative practice that can allow people to access their wellness journey. And what I mean by that is I think that those creative practices are examples of you walking in your own path and walking in ways that are closer to yourself and closer to whatever you need in this life experience. And I think often when you're on that creative path, when you're whether that's creating a product or a person, right? People can't people can't see where you are, what your outcome is going to be. Like, it's Sunday, and I'm going to be logging on to church after this. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, right? Like that's where I'm coming from. And I literally, for me, that means like people don't know what the journey is ahead of you, which is why when you were speaking, Wes, about people wanted you to like climb a rope in your wheelchair, and you were like, nah, I'm not going to be performing. Like, I mean, and I think we all find ourselves in these spaces where like, oh, upon deep reflection, I'm noticing that I need to make a shift. And like, let me try all these other things. I'm going to try modeling and entrepreneurship in different ways. And I think about whenever Steve Jobs and Apple made the iPad, there was an interview where they said, the interviewer was like, so what focus group did you do to get the iPad? And so that people, so that we can get to this product. And they said that people didn't know they needed an iPad. Like, we just made it. Like, they didn't know there was no focus group. Like, we made this product, and I think that's like a really deep creative practice. Like, someone's like, I have this idea and I have a lot of money and wealth and all this legacy, blah, 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 right? Here connected with Apple, and I made a product that people appreciate. And I think that most people don't know the fullness of you, right? That you can become. Most people don't know your potential, and they will keep you in a certain area, in a certain section that they can identify with you, where they are most comfortable with you. And whether that means they're most comfortable with you as their entertainment or as their education, or things that they can learn from you. And most people aren't thinking about like, and some people are your friends and your BFFs or whatever, but people, in larger communities, they, I don't think people have the capacity to really think about your creative expression of yourself. And so that's why I think when I think about that creativity as a wellness practice, I think, what are your deepest desires? What does your intuition tell you? And like, how do we cultivate those moments to express our creativity in ways that are so vast and broad, that are like so small, like, let me make this text message less funky right now, or let me make this delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a way that is loving, or maybe make this life decision. And I think one of the ways for me that has been expressed is I enjoy, like, I know I'll wrap it up in a second. I enjoy like, I have my entrepreneurial journey has been vast, right? I have had an ice cream shop. I have had a yoga studio. I have had, nonprofit kind of like corporate leadership space, positions. And sometimes I used to think, like, I feel like I'm all over the place sometimes. Like, I feel like I'm doing all these different things, like, but I feel so inspired. Like, I feel like deep joy and clarity that I should be doing these things. But whenever I kind of compare myself to other people in these spaces who are maybe doing things that maybe appear to be more consistent, I have felt like, oh, maybe I am not maybe I'm just all over the place. I need to just kind of pick one thing and do it. And then I had to back up and say, wait a second. I know that I've seen entrepreneurs out in the world who are billionaires who have done the same thing, right? So my lack of access to money and resources doesn't make me any less qualified to be able to pivot and experience my creative professional practices in ways that bring me joy. And also beginning to think about, whenever you really step back and think about and really begin to, I don't know, reflect and meditate over some of the decisions that you've made, that's when we begin to notice those through lines that are present in your work that can allow you to give you more direction and inspiration and affirmation of your gifts. And so I just think about very broadly of how, when we are searching for joy and we are searching for like our best selves or even our higher selves, I think it's those creative practices in very subtle ways and very reflective ways that will allow us to be able to kind of grow into that fullness and kind of grow into our own legacy.
I love that. And I was not unmuting to shut you down. I was unmuting because it hit me. And then I have to hold myself back. I'm like, April, give people space, because I want to like, jump in. Taking the shift away from Black pain. I think Black pain is so sensationalized in our society. And I know sometimes I'll be reading a bunch of books and I'm like, I don't want to hear about one more person that got beat, hung, or shot. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm tired of having like every book or every movie or every TV show sensationalizing our pain. And I'm so glad I've seen a shift in our, like I've been watching Abbott Elementary. I can watch it with my 15-year-old son. Nobody's going to take off their clothes. Nobody's going to start cussing. You know what I mean? And I can relate.
It's such a good show.
Isn't it great?
It's so funny.
Oh my God. It reminds me of when I came out of college working at LAUSD, what's up, LaSalle? No, but I could relate to it. And it didn't, and they talk about real issues without sensationalizing it. So I love that your focus is through the arts and through joy, that we can really, tap into like our holistic, our healthiest selves. That's why I was interjecting, because I was really excited. But we are coming to the end, which Alecia, we're going to have you back, because we got to keep on going with this. But we want to talk about some things that do bring you joy and edification. Wes and I have been talking about some books that we've been reading, podcasts, music, and I'm curious to hear what you've been reading. Wes, I want to share what I've been reading and hear what you're going to say, because I think you read this book and you had some opinions about it. But Alecia, what's on your nightstand or in your earbuds? What have you been listening to, reading, and getting into?
Sure. Yes, I have a few books on my nightstand and in my bags. The Secret Life of Church Ladies is actually right next to my bed, by Disha Philyaw, and she's a Pittsburgher who this book was optioned by HBO for a show. It's amazing. And I began to read this book, and I was, let me just do some light reading before bed. Man, this book is not going to put you to sleep. I was like, oh my God, there's too much happening in this. This is too much. This is bringing up a lot. So if you want to go to sleep, don't read that book. But if you want to be energized and interested in life, please read Secret Life of Church Ladies. I'm also reading by Disha Philyaw. And it's a good book. And I'm also reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I was like on a talk with her, and I learned that it was the 30th anniversary for The Artist's Way, which is a wonderful kind of reference for it, exploring your creative practice and being like a recovering artist. And it's also the foundation for morning pages. A lot of people are familiar with morning pages. And so that's the book that it came out of. And as far as podcasts, I'm listening to a lot of Hidden Brain, because it's just my jam. It's just my jam.
Thank you. Well, I wrote all that down, and we're going to share that with our listeners and viewers too. And maybe I was thinking today, Wes, like we just legit need to do like a book club talk, because there's so much I want to talk with you about. So one, before I get into it, now I'm in the sun, but Pause, Rest, Be by Octavia Rahim. She will be on March 20th. We're doing a book club with her. She is going to read from her book. Alecia, if you would let me gift you a book, Wes and I would love to gift you a book because we do have some books. And if you set aside March 20th, we would love for you and other people to join us. It'll be our book club as a collective. But I love her. I did 4 months of rest and restoration with her. And it was, pretty life-changing. I'm excited to have her. She is a yoga. She's out of Atlanta. She's in Georgia. But okay, that's one book. So everybody know that. So the boys got this for Christmas.
Yay.
And when we started reading and listening to it, I was like, well, go ahead, Will. Okay. I didn't know what to expect. And when you talk about legacy and history, I am, he and I are of the same generation. And I just love, I love hip hop. I love hip hop history. I love,
definitely.
I'm old school Tribe. I'm back in the day. But so what did you? I know, Wes, you read it already, and you were like,
definitely read it. I had to get more. I had to get more through the first part to really get the knowledge that was dropped. I wasn't against it. I did have I listened to the audio book first, and so I had about the regular version to kind of articulate what was being said, just because I felt like Will was reading, but it didn't sound like his words, and so that's what, because I'm big on audiobook, and the only reason why is because I like to listen to the author kind of the way they say it, how it's written. And so sometimes it can throw me off. So I did have to dig in a different way and really found, I thought it was powerful from this, the knowledge being dropped, because you could catch the expression when there was certain this is what I said compared to this is what someone kind of rephrased what I said. Okay. And so that was where it kind of threw me off. But no, definitely, I love that you're reading it, because Will's amazing. Plus, drop a little bomb. The director of the new Bel Air show is actually from Kansas City, from home. And so I just had to throw that out because it's been amazing, to see that journey and just see a Black visionary coming from where I come from and just do something, and his vision blows up like it is. And Will invested in that. So just because of the book being shared, I wanted to kind of give some flowers to Will, because Will, he helped the city out with that one. So.
That's a good one. I'm glad you did that. And I'm glad I'm reading it, because I had just finished another book, which was so good, I didn't want to read anything else. And when you get let down, you're like, nothing else is going to be as good, which was my book, The Vanishing Half, that I read last month and shared. I don't know if you've read that book, Alecia, or heard about The Vanishing Half. And it really touched me, because I came from a family of light-skinned people. And I understand some of that happened in my history. So that was good. So thank you, Alecia. We're going to share your 2 books, because now that you told me that the Church Lady, the Secret Life of Church Ladies.
Yeah, it's scandalous. So
and too is that Will's mom is from Homestead.
Hey.
Oh.
Yes. Which you guys are not in Pittsburgh. Well, you describe it, because I'm not a native, Alecia. I'll let you speak to Homestead's origins.
Next to Pittsburgh. I don't have the history of the, geography of Pittsburgh area. Homestead is right next to Pittsburgh.
Has it always been primarily an all Black community?
See, you asking for all those facts about Homestead, and I don't have it. Another thing about my legacy is
Homewood. She said Homewood.
Okay.
That's why you don't let me talk about stuff from Pittsburgh, you guys, because I don't know.
Okay. Thanks, I'm Homestead. It's kind of right next to Pittsburgh. It's across the bridge. It's a completely different space. Homewood is a primarily Black community in the east side of Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh is full of rolling mountains and hills. It's one of the flatter spaces. It's one of the larger stretches of flat land in Pittsburgh. And actually, my great grandfather was from Homewood as well. He grew up there, and actually, that's how my dad and my mother met. My dad came to Pittsburgh from Virginia. He lived in Homewood, and my mom was braiding hair, and that's how they hooked up. So there's some facts about Homewood. I'm like, I don't really know about Homestead. It's outside of Pittsburgh. So I'm like, Homewood. I'm like, it's the population density, blah blah blah. So.
That's why you don't let a California girl try to drop any Pittsburgh knowledge. I knew that.
I love it.
I was real surprised when he said my mom